Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Chris White. This is a Your Bangor News special, inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy. Tonight, we're taking an in-depth look at a 10-week program I had the chance to participate in, along with several of my fellow city residents this summer. Over the next half hour, you'll learn that it's not all fun and games once the badge comes on. It means a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, being a cop means having a family that's always by your side. So join me as Inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy starts right now. The call comes in. An intruder is suspected inside an abandoned Brewer school building. The only information available is that the suspect may be armed. Even though their lives could be at stake, those called to the scene will do as they're trained, wearing the badge that reads Brewer PD.
I'm going to bring up the rear just to make sure we...
Okay, so he went that way, you go in straight, you guys call out what you see in the room. There's probably some threats in there. You got a 2x4 laying there, you've got a chair somebody can throw at you. Anything can be a threat. And this whole time, Cecil's still trained on that door up there. So is there anything behind the door? No. You can look in that crack right there. And look up, make sure you don't see anything out. Okay? And then you would call this area clear.
Clear.
Okay, ready, go. Call out what you got. Call out what you got.
Threats are everywhere. An open door around the next corner, a pair of scissors on the floor. Flashlights are the only way you can see. And every team member needs to stay sharp.
Clear.
Clear, yeah, stack up.
Now it's on to a large room, what used to be a cafeteria. In this case, it's all about safety, because the number of places a person could be hiding are endless. The fatal funnel is the point where you enter a room. Because it's a confined entry and exit point, it's where officers are most vulnerable. Backup has doubled our forces, as we now tackle the school's main hallway.
Doors left and right.
Team members stack up behind each other as they make their way down the corridor, checking each room for threats.
If you need a trailer, call for a trailer.
But this is just one of the experiences my fellow class members and I had. Up next, we're learning about how police officers stay proactive on the street, and we'll get a look at the rigorous training they go through. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy, a Your Bangor News special. During one of our first classes, we were asked to make a list of the traits we wanted in our police officers.
All the best. We want the best, and we want none of the trash that goes with it. How realistic is that?
Not very.
I bleed. I get scared. I get angry. Stress affects me the same way it affects anybody else in this room. I have my good. I have my bad. I'm a complete package.
Another thing we learned early on was how important it was to always be on your toes. Police officers have to learn to expect anything and everything.
I've been to work here for 9.5 years. I've been hit in the face twice, and they were by the same person. And it was a 15-year-old girl who weighed maybe 80 pounds. Was I ready for it? No.
A lot of learning is done on the job. That, combined with outside training, prepares officers for many of the things they encounter. The use of force continuum is the scale that officers use to determine what level of force they need to use in order to de-escalate a situation. Those levels include officer presence, verbal commands, use of hands, chemical agents, impact weapons, and deadly force. But there are a lot of gray areas when it comes to everyday police work.
Obviously, a piece of paper is not going to help you when you're out on the street to determine what you need to do to win. And basically what I want is every one of my officers to go in with that mentality. Whatever you meet on the street, you're going to win.
And they have many options depending on what the situation calls for.
A gooseneck is basically bringing his arm up, locking the wrist down, keeping it tight to your body. That wrist is not designed to bend that way.
Especially not on bigger people.
Sometimes a simple wrist hold won't work, and there are other moves officers are prepared with as well.
You can walk him right out. Keep him tight to your body, steer him with his shirt.
Blocking techniques, punches, and kicks. They are all tools officers can use, but sometimes a situation calls for using deadly force, and weapons training is intense. On this day, we're at the Air National Guard Base in Bangor. Here, there is a sophisticated machine called a FATS system, or Firearms Training Simulator. Officers stand in front of a scene projected on a wall and interact with a scenario. It's all controlled by an operator who sits at the back of the room. When a gun is fired, it recoils, like a real gun, and shows where shots are fired and if they would have been fatal. Scenarios range from routine to extreme. Here is one example, serving a warrant to 2 fugitives in a bar. You never know what's going to happen. Who will jump out? What dangers may lie around the next corner? The more active you are, the more believable and serious it becomes.
Hold it right there, gentlemen. Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Freeze. 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 Drop it.
And sometimes, not a single bullet needs to be fired. Serious work, but still fun to be had. Still to come on Inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy, the battle is on. A look at the drug problem in Brewer and the tools police are using to contain it. In one sense or another, law enforcement has been around for centuries, either through military rule or family hierarchy. A more formal version was set up during the Roman Empire. Some say police work, as we know it today, got its start under Francis King Louis XIV. Others say it was in London around the same time. Regardless, the role of the police officer hasn't changed much over time, maintaining law and order and keeping citizens safe. What has changed over time are the specific crimes that police are fighting. The problems that seem to only exist in big cities have now made their way to even the smallest. Drugs are a problem, even here in Brewer.
If I get a little tiny pill, if I get a gram of drug, whether it's marijuana or whether it's cocaine, that gram came from an ounce. That ounce came from a pound. The pound came from a kilo, and the kilo came from Lord knows what. We just have the tail end piece of that bigger picture. And if we could look into a crystal ball and trace that little package of drugs life, where it came from, invariably we'd go up the pyramid to organized crime.
And dealing with a drug user means dealing with someone who has little to no common sense. We heard one story of a young man who, after taking PCP, was still trying to get away, even after being maced and tackled.
This kid, he didn't have enough up here because of the drugs that he could focus to fight. It was all flight, which I thank God today, because with the three of us, if he had decided at any point, gun, dead, I don't think we could have stopped him.
Simple equation. Drugs equals money. Money equals guns. Okay? Guns, weapons, whatever. Show me a drug dealer, I'll show you somebody with a weapon.
And weapons are becoming harder and harder to recognize, as new technologies are becoming more readily available, like this gun, made to look like a cell phone. And crime isn't just the result of drug sale competition.
Why? Can drug addicts hold down jobs? No, they can't. Do drugs cost money? Remember, drugs is a money business. If there wasn't money to be made, there wouldn't be drugs. So drugs cost money. Addicts need money to buy drugs. If addicts can't afford the drugs, what will they do? They will commit crimes to get the drugs. That's why crime rates increase.
Investigating crimes means outsmarting the criminals to get them to confess, like taking a manila envelope filled with blank paper and writing a suspect's name on it.
They did, and I'll put it down. And we'll start talking. I just keep looking at it. They're dying to know what I've got in there, what I know.
And it's not about lying. If a guilty suspect is paranoid, it makes it that much easier to get a confession. Another trick? A blank video cassette tape.
Open it up, take the cellophane off it, we're sticking it right, say it was a burglary at Big Apple. I'll write Big Apple on it. I'll write the date that it happened like it was a surveillance tape, especially places that don't even have video. I'll just write that on it, throw it on the table, silk them down, I'll sit down, just kind of like slide it out. You know, if they don't, I'll say so. So you wasn't anywhere near this place. No, I was, up in Bucksport, or I was just... So would it surprise you to know that I've got you on video? Well, yeah, I might have been there, but not at the, this has a time and date stamp on it. So then the defense attorney always calls up, so can we see that video? What video? Video you told my client you had of him. I said, I didn't tell him I had it. I said, would you like to know what's on here, and would it surprise you to know? It would surprise me to know that he was on there too, but...
But solving the problem of crime is all about prevention. And preventing drug crime isn't about just the police.
The cops can't fix this problem. We don't have enough cops. I could put 100 more cops on the street, and I still ain't gonna fix it. Okay? Law enforcement is but one approach to what you need for a multifaceted approach to this drug problem. We have to get angry. We have to get involved. We have to demand that our schools are safer. We have to demand that our streets are safer. We have to make sure that there is treatment options for people who want help. DARE in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade don't cut it. It needs to be more. Okay? We need to do more as a community. And we can't sit back and expect somebody else to solve this problem. It's going to take everybody.
A major reason the Citizen Police Academy exists is to create community partners, to develop tight-knit groups that work together to fight against drugs in our area. But until more people become proactive, police are still working hard to fight drugs on the street, and they're not doing it alone.
This is Mace. He's 2 years old.
A purebred Labrador retriever, and is part of the police department team. Mace finds drugs.
Our dogs find marijuana, heroin, cocaine, and crack, which is pretty much the same thing, and methamphetamine. Our dog's just recently certified on methamphetamine.
Brewer has 2 canine teams, but the dogs don't act alone.
A canine's a tool. It's just like my gun, my baton, my handcuffs. It's a tool in our toolbox for drug interdiction.
I want a dog that's aggressive. If it's not going to be a dog that's going to bite. We don't want a dog that is scared of people and scared of everything. Okay, so there's certain tests. We run these dogs through a number of different tests.
Amy and Paul both got their dogs when they were puppies. Oftentimes, it's a crapshoot, but there are tests you can put puppies through to see how they might function.
Let's say I tested one litter of puppies that were only 5 weeks old, and they were labs, and one of them, I rolled a tennis ball, and one of them went and got it and brought it back at 5 weeks old. That's a dog that we want, that we know is going to have a drive to want to go and get that ball, go and get that toy.
When they come out of that car, they're thinking about one thing. They're thinking about drugs, finding them. Because if they find them, they get a reward. Not really an impressive reward, but to her it's like gold.
But the training process to get there is intense. The first step is playing with a toy. Then it's stored in a bag of marijuana. Once the dog learns to smell, the towel will then be hidden out of sight. And once the dog becomes reliable in finding the towel based on scent, dogs will search for just the drug.
Our trainer that trained both our dogs, Lloyd, he put the hides out, put a hide out for me. He said, "Oh, your dog just found cocaine." I was like, "What?" I mean, he had never smelled cocaine before. He'd never been around cocaine before. Nailed it. Found it first time.
And the training continues at home.
My dog doesn't just get his dinner. He sits, and I'll put the food in his bowl, and he'll start drooling, and the drool will hang. He'll sit there, and he won't touch it until I tell him it's okay. And I might leave the room. But it's a constant, every little thing, we're constantly training the dogs.
The dogs are trained to smell drugs. When they do, they change physically, and owners have to know what to look for. To demonstrate how these dogs act when they find dope, we put them through a mock drug search inside the classroom.
My dog's breathing's going to change. Might start snorting. Tail's going to wag. they're gonna scratch, they're gonna bite at it.
When it comes to vehicle searches, a dog hitting on a drug stash means probable cause to search a car. But different levels exist, starting with something as simple as drugs being hidden in a car's side view mirror.
If a dog hits on that, I can pretty much find that dope without ripping the car apart. What happens if the dog hits on my gas tank? Because I've taken a radiator hose, I plugged one end, and I've put about 5 ounces in, plugged the other end and dropped it in my gas tank because I'm going to be going across state lines. If I have a good canine team that's proven and reliable, now it's put up or shut up time. I have probable cause to search this Jeep. I have probable cause to disassemble.
And being able to testify how a dog acts could make or break a case when it comes to court.
And not everybody can do this. A lot of people think it's, fun to handle a canine. They want to handle a canine. It's a lot of work. A lot of work, a lot of donated time. You do it because you love it, not just because it's something different to do.
Coming up, Inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy continues. Look out, Brewer, a new cop is on the road. I'll get my chance behind the wheel on the other side of the break. Everyone hates the feeling you get when you see the blue lights flashing in your rearview mirror, especially when you were speeding. Doubly so if you were unfit to drive.
Use his arms for balance. Oh, steps offline.
2,
Misses heel to toe and offline.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Luckily, this level of impairment is simulated by a pair of drunk goggles. Even though Dan's mind is sharp, the goggles affect his coordination. This is a typical test police officers use to determine if someone is fit to drive. Another is standing on one foot and counting.
You're counting out loud to me. You understand that? Go ahead and begin. You want to restart?
Yeah.
Go ahead and begin.
1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000.
Oftentimes, people give an excuse that they have an injury as soon as they start to fail. But there's a trick police use before they even give the test.
Okay, do they have bad knees, bad ankles, bad back, bad everything? You give them an out. Do you have any medical problems that would prevent you from conducting my test? As soon as they say no, okay, or if they say yes, then you got to rethink it. But as soon as they say no, go on with your tests, okay? Because 9 times out of 10, once they realize what your tests are, now all of a sudden I've got a bad knee or I've got a bad ankle, because they can't stand on the line and they can't walk, they can't turn.
And a study in Australia proves that it's not just drunk driving that can be a problem.
And what they found of 17 hours up straight and no sleep puts you at an impairment level consistent with a 0.06 or 0.08. 0.08 is our legally impaired limit, right? If you've been up 24 hours straight, you're at a 0.10 blood alcohol content level. So if you take somebody who, for whatever reasons, worked a double shift, they got a sick kid, and then now all of a sudden I have to hop in the car and drive. Fatigue, the way that fatigue affects your mind and affects your ability to react and your reaction times and process information, you'll be at an impairment level similar to one of those goggles that you put on.
After this, we were given the chance to try the drunk goggles on ourselves. Here's the test. Take a pitcher of water, walk about 30 feet to a table, and stop. Then, fill the 3 mugs full of water. Easy, right? Here's the catch. You can't spill a drop. Oh, and don't forget about the flashing lights. Some of us even had trouble standing up. On our final day, we got to really be cops. Well, at least drive their cars. The Bangor International Airport, surrounded by abandoned runways and an airplane graveyard, would be our spot. Sounds like a breeze. We arrive and realize there's quite a bit to learn.
You're going to pull in and take a left into the first alley. You're going to back into the back alley. Put it in drive and drive into this right alley, and then put it reverse and back out of this exit alley.
What? Say that again? Pull in and take a left. Then throw the car into reverse, backing into the far alley. Then back forward with another left, and then back out to where you started. I'll say this, it took some practice. We all got the chance to try this ourselves. No combs were harmed in the making of this special. Well, maybe one. And maybe another, with yours truly behind the wheel. The problem was getting it out.
Back in?
No. Drive over there and back into that one. Can you draw a map, please?
For more information on taking part in the next Brewer Citizen Police Academy, you can contact Lieutenant Chris Martin. His email address is cmartin@brewerpolice.org, or you can give him a call at the Brewer Police Department. That number is 989-7001. Again, that's 989-7001. For all the latest news about the police department, log on to their website, www.brewerpolice.org. Well, thanks so much for joining me for Inside the Brewer Citizen Police Academy. I hope you had fun watching some of the highlights of our most recent class, and I hope you now have a deeper understanding and respect for some of the things police officers deal with every day. From all of us here at Your Bangor News, have a great night.
Police now give you no break. That old soldier man, I give you no break. Not even your eyes, I give you no breaks.